Hi there, my name is Peter. Welcome to Folk and Horror Phenomena. This is my new YouTube channel to supplement my writings that I already do about folk music, horror, gigs, interviews with people, that kind of thing. This is the first video made for the channel, so that's good news. Our first interview is with an artist called Steve Pledger. Steve Pledger is a folk musician from the northeast, very much in the acoustic range of things, but he has many more instruments on his albums. His music is very in tune with society and the feelings of the populace at large, as well as being introspective. His music is it's like a mirror really to society, with all the beauty and the uglies in it really. So it's all exciting stuff. Not spoken to Steve for a long time, so this has been a great opportunity to catch up with him. So check us out. I hope you enjoy. All right. Well, it's good to see you again, Steve. Anyway,
good to see you too. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a while, isn't it?
Oh well, actually, I think I did some digging to try and work out how long it had been. Actually, so I looked at I got my current blog and I looked at my old blog. It's still out there somewhere in the internet, and I think I've got it as maybe 2015. I think.
Wow.
After second album, and Striking Matches in the Wind.
Yeah, which was spring 2015 that came out. So yeah, that clocks. Wow.
Yeah. I remember where I saw you as well. It was at Hallsway Manor.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Down there for Ange Hardy, and you were there then, weren't you?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, 9 years. It's extraordinary. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's an amazing amount of time.
It is.
But what was I saying? Yeah, I was looking over it and I thought, well, I thought I'd ask you for an interview just to find out how you've been getting on. But then I thought, well, I remember that you were like I thought you were like my second review I'd ever done. But when I went back, I think it was something like my fourth, I think. But I found some quotes from my old blog actually. I think I think okay, so yeah, I was digging around. I think so I don't know if this sounds like your music, or if you still think it's like this or not. Somewhere between Tracy Chapman and David Gray in instrumentation.
Oh, that's a nice observation. I'm very happy with that. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, well, David Gray was everywhere, and Tracy Chapman. Well, I don't know anybody that this is Tracy Chapman, to be honest.
No, and I wouldn't trust anyone who did, because no. So no, to be mentioned in such companies, yeah, that's lovely. No, I do remember your sort of blogs and reviews as well from that time. You were so thorough, and it was so clear how much you'd spent time listening and considering the music and stuff, and the fact that you came to such kind conclusions it was just even nicer. But yeah, no, I appreciate the depth you went into.
Oh, brilliant stuff. But okay then, so how about for people that aren't familiar with your music, how about you just give a brief intro and tell us what you're all about then, Steve?
Oh, that question, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Every time I get asked something like this, I think to myself, I really should come up with an answer so that I'm ready next time, because I always go, yeah. I mean, predominantly, I'm an acoustic singer-songwriter, and I guess partly because of my own influences and the sort of things I tend to write about, I suppose I'm in that sort of that kind of Dylan lineage, and again, I'm not comparing myself. Saying, yeah, no, I'm the new Dylan. No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, that sort of tradition of singer-songwriter, I suppose. Yeah, that's in the broadest sense. That's the easiest place to, or way of describing it, maybe. But yeah.
Would you have seen yourself in those old days in Greenwich Village then, would you, in New York?
I would. Do you know what I would? Yeah, I'd love to have been part of that scene. Well, no, I mean, of course, the wealth of talent and everything that was just bubbling up at that time was extraordinary. But to have been, just a tiny footnote in all of that, just to have been there would have been amazing. And to have actually, maybe shared a stage with somebody, or Newport Festival or something in a tent somewhere out back. I don't know, anything that would have been remarkable. But thank goodness those who were there. So
it's an interesting place. It's been about 10 years since I've been there. It's nice though, New York. It's nice. I have the impression it's cleaner than it used to be. I don't know. You watch those old films from the 90s and it's all rubbish everywhere.
I was there in 1990, I think it was.
Okay.
I'd love to say I was doing something really cool, but we were just over there on the east coast of America for a holiday. The only one time we ever did anything remotely like that, but we did it and it was great. So I got to spend I think 4 nights in New York and absolutely loved it. It was just, and yeah, you're right. So 1990. So it was sort of, I think it was trying to clean up its act a little bit, but still kind of, the rawness of it and everything. But I actually sort of really liked that, and I found myself wandering into places that I probably shouldn't have wandered into, but I found it more interesting than doing the kind of touristy stuff. Not that I'm knocking that, but used to take myself and wander the streets. It was quite something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our biggest regret was Coney Island wasn't open when we went. So went out of season. So
yeah. No, I didn't get onto Coney, but that would have been extraordinary.
Yeah.
That is an amazing place. Really.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. So let me see. When did you first start getting into music then and performing? If memory serves me right, it's mostly acoustic guitar you play, isn't it? Did you play any other?
Yeah. No, I mean I can sort of tinker about on the piano a little bit, but not. And I'm not being falsely modest here when I say not to any standard. You know what I mean? It's mainly for my own amusement, but so primarily acoustic guitar. I mean, I've chipped in with a bit of electric sometimes. I mean, on the last studio album, What Tomorrow Knows, I was planning on playing a bit of electric on that, but I was working with Lucas Drinkwater. He's just an amazing, he's just an amazing guy, but an incredible multi-instrumentalist. And so I got this in my head that I thought, well, I'll probably put some electric guitar bits down. And then I'd sent one of the tracks, I did all my stuff at home, sent one of my tracks, one of the recordings into Lucas, and he sort of sent it back with some, put some flavors on it and said, how do you feel this is going, with this kind of direction? And it included some electric guitar. And as soon as I heard it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to play electric on this. I got a big barking dog over here, and no disrespect to Lucas, and I'm this little yappy thing in the corner. I'm going to let that dog do the barking. You know what I'm saying? It's brilliant. But no, I was into music. I enjoyed music as soon as I heard it. Really, it's just when I was small. I remember it being Elvis and John Denver and the Carpenters and people like that. And I think that particularly with Elvis, that image of somebody with a guitar was just such a striking. It's just like such an iconic image, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I think I was initially maybe drawn to the aesthetic of it. I don't know. But then I started to learn to play a little bit when I was at school. When I was about 8, just I picked up a few chords and what have you. But and then it sort of went on the back burner for a while. Picked it up again a little bit in my teens, and then I joined a couple of bands, sort of school bands, when I was about 16, 17, and that was fun. But I think the first time I ever performed I was probably about 18, 19, something like that. And and I'd been writing only to amuse myself for a few years at that point. But that's kind of where it started, and there was a big gap in the middle until about 2012. But goes back to whenever it was that I was 19.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I mean, I mean, you got some great tracks. I mean,
Thank you.
I like to say that I suppose you wouldn't really disagree with this. Your music's quite socially conscious and political in nature.
Yeah, I suppose it is, and sometimes with a small P, sometimes with a bigger P. I mean, I don't write very much about myself, even if I'm writing from a first person perspective. It's not that often. It's about me, and that's just mainly because I don't think there's, again, this is not false modesty. I don't think there's very much interesting about me. Do you know what I mean? I just kind of, I've got, I can't claim some dreadful upbringing that I need to, pour into my music or anything like that. It's all, it's all fairly nondescript. So it's much more interesting to, I think it is anyway, just to sort of look around the world and see what else is going on out there, and whether that's, the other side of your garden fence or, on the other side of the planet. There's plenty. There's never a shortage of things to write about. If you're sort of looking beyond yourself, and which is where I tend to look. But it's either the sort of social and political stuff, or I do find myself, I don't necessarily seek them, but I find myself, and this is when I do tend to write in the first person, I suppose, inhabiting other people's situations or characters or lived experiences. And I think that's a way of just sort of trying to, to understand that, because, for the most part, we learn a little bit from each other as we chat, and, what we've been through and all the rest of it. But we don't know. We have our own experiences. And then you sort of hear about particularly the bigger stories, I suppose, in terms of experience, something that somebody's been through, and you just think, my goodness, I can't even imagine that. So but you find yourself imagining, and you draw those little parallels, and you think, well, I've felt a fraction of what that person feels, this particular thing, whether it's isolation or whatever. And then it's trying to empathize, isn't it? I mean, I think that's
I think that's absolutely.
Use it maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose people and musicians and artists could go one or two ways, especially after COVID, because COVID is that time where everybody you either got angry or you got like empathic, I suppose. Everybody had, most people must have someone who was affected by COVID in one way or another.
Exactly. I think there was it's a good point, because it was such a sort of fertile time, and of course the thing is, if you're the type of person, whether it's a singer-songwriter or a writer of any kind, I mean, just anybody, you find yourself really reflecting on what's going on, and then the immediate aftermath, and as you look back on it and everything. So of course everybody was coming out with COVID songs or lockdown songs, and it's almost like, I'm not going to do it, I guess but you can't.
Well, in fairness to you, you didn't do a cover of Imagine, did you?
No, I didn't do that.
Half the celebrities did. That was cringeworthy. I remember that.
Yeah, I dodged that particular bullet. but I did end up writing a song, which I guess was a sort of lockdown song, called Reseda, which is, again, not my lived experience, but from the perspective of somebody who watches their other half go out to work every day in the within the NHS, and so they're at home kind of keeping safe and having to watch their partner go through everything, and trying to hold people's lives together, and all the rest of it. So, but again, I think if the type of person who reflects on stuff like that, particularly if you have an outlet for those reflections, it was such an epoch defining period, wasn't it? And whether you, like you said, whether you want to get angry, not want to, but whether you find yourself getting angry or getting sad, upset, sympathetic, whatever, again, there were just so many stories, so many things on which you could reflect, and put out there. It's inevitable, I suppose.
I must admit, I've been trying to catch up with your catalogue, actually. Now, I was very intrigued by your last album. You really mentioned it, haven't you?
What Tomorrow Knows. What Tomorrow Knows. Yeah.
I was watching the video for
Stagehand's Tale. Would it have
that's
been?
the one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. I was watching that, and I was. It's a very nice video. I like it. I like the contrast is nice, the black and white and all that.
Yeah, I can take no credit for that at all, so I can completely agree with you. Yeah, Stephen Mason of Lonely Tree Entertainment is the creative force behind that, and no, I completely agree. Did a cracking job.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's okay with yourself, after this spot here, I'll just insert a clip here, so you guys can have
absolutely.
A watch.
Yeah, please feel free.
It's a very short clip, so you can see.
Thank you.
You get the show you pay for. What did you expect from a cast made up of clowns that any circus would reject? Don't ask for your money back, 'cause management refused to pay out when you chose to come in spite of the reviews. It's got a few more years to run, so long as they're accused. Outside the ticket office, well, that part's down to you.
What I was curious about actually was looking the video. Is it like there's a thing in there that looks a bit like a man-eating plant, or is it a face?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong.
Because I'm going to go to see Little Shop of Horrors. So when you think of Audrey 2, to be honest with you.
That's what it is. It's an Audrey 2.
Was it just lying around, was it?
Yeah, we did the video. So my mate Stephen, who said, like, it'd be great to do a video. That's a lot of what he does. He makes a lot of great videos, all sorts of films, but he does a lot of sort of music videos. And he very kindly said, look, it'd be nice to do one for you. So we landed on Stagehand's Tale. And so he sort of pulled together a few folk, and one of my sons and my daughter came along as well. And so we went over to this place, which was literally about 1.5 miles from where I live, where I'm sitting now, to this space that this guy owns, who was also in the video, kind of played the stagehand. And it's used for all sorts of things, including some recording takes place in there. They put on little shows in there and stuff. So there were all sorts of things lying around. So we got between us these basic ideas of what to do, and then it was a case of turning up. And then in the corner was this Audrey 2, and we were like, yeah, that's too good to that's too good to miss. That's going to be in it. I love Little Shop of Horrors. It's just such a great show. So so to have Audrey 2 in there, magic.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, I thought it's I mean, I've always liked the variety of your songs anyway. That one kind of seemed to me to veer more towards like the jazzy blues angle almost. It's a great song actually. It's a great song.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it just you just find yourself going in a certain direction sometimes, I guess, don't you? You just a couple of chords come out and you go, oh, that's okay, that's somewhere I've not been before. And I think that's the thing, whenever you're picking up your instrument or sitting at your instrument or whatever, you want to go somewhere that you've just not gone before, and to sort of bring out something fresh and a little different. There's a lot of the sort of tried and tested stuff, and that's all well and good, but it's nice when something happens that you think, oh well, I don't normally do that, so let's explore. I'm kind of fond of the song.
Yeah, that's a great one. So how's your so you're on tour at the moment, aren't you? You got a few haven't you, this year? Yeah, I've got
I think about 5 gigs left this year. So I'm heading back down south on the 24th of November. Going down to I'm playing Bluebell Roots. It's down south anyway, and I'm also playing folk and acoustic folk at Eastbourne on the 26th, and then Walton on Thames on the 29th. And and there's a couple of others after that too. So getting out and about again a little bit, and that's just always the best. I love it. Absolutely.
Have you, anything particularly memorable or interesting that's come up on tour so far, or anywhere where you've been?
I'm laughing like I've got, oh wow, he's got all these salacious stories. No,
doesn't matter if you haven't. It's fine.
No, I've got nothing like that. But there's just often the sort of little things that happen. It just sort of go into the memory bank or something. And now, can I remember any?
Any notable places that you've been to that you've not been to before, or anywhere like really?
I mean, there's a place that's been open for just for a year up here in County Durham, and I do sort of play all around the country. This one just happens to be a couple of miles from home. It's called the White Room Music Cafe, and it is just fantastic. It's just a brilliant venue. I played there a few months ago, and I'm back there in February.
Yeah.
But they've been getting really busy and really popular, and all sorts of people have been coming to play. So it's great that they've, smaller grassroots artists, like myself and others, and then also sort of bringing in folks who might be on a bit of a bigger tour, but they've got a little stopover, and they're like, oh, can we come play? So it's a brilliant venue. That's been a really nice experience.
Great. Yeah.
But I get to play all sorts of lovely places, and often house gigs. I love playing house gigs too. I did a couple of those on the last stretch, which were just fab, because I think the thing I like most about that sort of event is there's no not that I tend to sort of be swept in and out of a building in a limo, and it's not like that anyway. I'm always around, but the loveliest thing about house gig is that there is absolutely zero division of who's performing and who's listening, because at the start you're just all there milling around and having a coffee together and a chat, and then one of you just happens to get up and play, and if that one happens to be me, then that's great because I love doing it. But you already feel like you're all sharing the same experience together, and I really like that. That puts you at ease as well, and it just feels more community based, I guess.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, so have you seen? Would you say that the touring scene is good at the moment for yourself? Have you noticed it getting better, or I know live music's in a strange place at the moment, isn't it?
It is really, yeah. And I think there's a how do you picture it? It's kind of in one way, it's kind of, we're sort of seeing it doing this, and then another way it's doing that. So I think there are things to be encouraged about. Obviously, after the pandemic and everything, it's good to see and feel that things picking up from that. But also at the same time, of course, you can't not notice the fact that some venues aren't there anymore, or they're doing different kinds of music events and all the rest of it. So it's become, all the musicians have kind of come out of hiding, and I don't know the percentage of particularly grassroots venues that were lost, but it's high enough, so that's different. But no, I think the encouraging thing is, if you go out, if you can find an audience and an audience can find you, and there's a space that will allow you all to gather, then everything that's ever been great about live music is ready to happen again, because all you need is someone to sing or play, someone to listen, and someone to let you use their space. And once you've got that, then it's all good. But no, you're right though, it is a sort of funny time, so which is why seeing the odd new venue coming up and really kind of nailing the way of doing things as well, as many do, of course, that's really encouraging. So
yeah,
more power to them.
I find myself I think what I've noticed the most is festivals. Really, festivals seem to be dropping off, don't they, really?
Yeah, and there's obviously you see those that are kind of, it's happening, and then sort of 3 months before or something, they're like, do you know what, guys, we're I feel so sorry for everybody involved, because they're like, this is the last thing we want to do. We've got no choice but to pull, and it will be for whatever reason. So yeah, there's that happening too. So yeah, there's reasons to be encouraged, but as you rightly say, there's cause for concern as well. But I think that there's so much great music out there, an immense amount of great music. And I often say I'm always frustrated when I hear people say that there's no good music anymore, because that's a good music. There's too much of it, as far as I'm concerned. No, there's so much good music, but of course you gotta, you might have to lift a few stones to find it nowadays, because it's not as in your face, and I think the mainstream is much more sort of, generally speaking, closed off to the less than tried and tested genres and stuff. But there is some great music out there, so that will always be, I think, as long as there are people to hear it, and clearly there's an appetite for it. So it's getting that message out that all of us who want to play, we're all here, we want to do it, and I think it's a confidence thing, particularly on the venues side of things. I think, because if people want to hear it and they're happy to pay £10-15 to go, and in more in some cases, of course, then they'll go. But I totally get the venues who are like, well, we got to take the hit on this if it doesn't happen, and will they come, won't they, and even will somebody get ill or something. I think it's made people nervous, and I absolutely get that. I've got nothing but respect for people who put on and promote live music. I've done a bit of it myself before. It's not an easy gig.
No. I can't begin to imagine what that's like, to be honest with you. Yeah. So let me see. So you've got let's put that. So you've got it's a lyric book, isn't it? That's come out.
Yeah. Yes. Called Stolen Bouquets, or Stolen Buckets, as a friend of mine has called it. I'm sticking with Stolen Bouquets. It sounds better, I think. But yeah, it's about sort of 30 odd songs of mine, which I thought worked well as a piece of written poetry, in effect, because obviously lyrics are a form of poetry, but not all lyrics lend themselves to either being read out loud or in one's head, and when I was considering what was going to go in it, there were songs that I liked with lyrics that I liked, that I've written, but I just looked and thought, doesn't work, so it's finding those songs that you think, well, actually, no, that stands on its own, and collating them together and putting them into a collection. And it's been popular at gigs, which has been really encouraging. You never know how something like this is going to go. And the feedback's been really, really lovely. So it's I'm really pleased. I like it. I'm very pleased with how it's come together and stuff. I enjoyed doing it.
So you might be breaking into the poetry space as well, then.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, it's that thing of being able to put across the written word with just spoken voice. I think is there's a real knack and skill to that, and I don't know that I've got it, but it's like, when you hear somebody read a poem, perhaps their own, I suppose that's when it's most powerful, and they absolutely have the tone of delivery right. It's just spellbinding. But equally, you can very, very easily make a good poem sound awful if you can't deliver it properly.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do acting classes years ago, and
okay.
It was only amateur dramatics, but I was in a Christmas play. I was in a Christmas play, The Grinch, once, and I was one of the narrators, so I understand all this thing about tone of voice and everything. But we've been practicing for weeks and weeks and weeks, and obviously the Grinch is kind of you need an American English accent for the Grinch, really.
Sure. Yeah.
I couldn't do it, or rather, my drama teacher said to me, "You're gonna have to work on this, in your own time, because you're just not nailing the accent." So I did practice and practice and practice, but unfortunately, my accent was so bad because I basically came out with John Wayne, really. Yeah.
All right.
It was a John Wayne accent. That's the only way I could do it.
I would love to hear John Wayne narrating The Grinch. this needs to be made. Start a campaign going.
Yeah. So because all I could do was John Wayne. They basically had to decide that nobody did American English anymore, and everybody just did their own accent. Because totally tanked any chance of that.
That's fantastic. But then I remember the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch. Of course, they've got I think it's Anthony Hopkins doing the narration in a very Anthony Hopkins voice. So
yes, of course, yes.
You set a trend there, Peter.
Yeah, well, certainly. Yeah, I think the audience definitely missed out on something there.
Yeah, no, it's 100% their loss. We've all been robbed.
Yeah. But it's okay. So yeah. So okay. So if someone was just getting into your music or wanted to understand you, what track would you recommend to start with? Do you reckon? You got quite a big catalogue, so any ideas?
Yeah, maybe a song like the Parable of Intent. Can't even say it. It's my own song. The Parable of Intent from Striking Matches in the Wind, because I think there's definitely a sort of social aspect to that song, and you can sort of read a political leaning into it if you wish, but it's not overbearing by any means. There's some softer parts to it, and there's also a bit of, something with a bit more hair on it as well at times. So I think that song maybe gives a fairly half decent overview of me as a writer, at least. I think. I mean, recording wise, things have moved along a little bit since I did that, but yeah, no, I think probably that song. Yeah.
Would you say you're getting? Would you say you're getting more complexity into your songs, or would you say it's to do with the style of recording, or what's
I think the style of recording. I mean, I really loved recording that album with my good friend Nigel Neal, and he did a great job on the overall sound of it. So I'm really, really happy with that. I mean, since then I've had the opportunity to sort of flesh things out a little bit more instrumentation wise. And I think the nice thing about that is, of course, when you write and perform solo, in your own head, even it's not really a conscious thought, but in your own head, when the drums come in, what instrumentation would suit this particular section or something, it's kind of there. So of course, when you get to do an album with other musicians, you then get the opportunity to say, well, look, I think this is what would serve this song. And also, the producer will make other ideas. Lucas made suggestions to me on the last album, which I would never have thought of in a million years. And we tried them out, and invariably they were like, yeah, I'd have never come up with that, but please, let's do it. But then of course the line to walk is not to sort of walk over the heart of the song, which particularly if you're going to go out and play live solo, it really has to stand up as a solo piece as well. But it's nice to be able to enhance a song, and I think I've again, working with all the people I've worked on the albums, and just sort of my own experience as well, I think that's something I've sort of gotten a little bit better at. But I hope so anyway.
Okay.
Hopefully moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we're all moving in the same direction, aren't we?
We are, aren't we? Yeah. There's an inevitability to it. We've got to embrace it.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And so I'll put some information about your remaining dates on, and
Thanks, Peter.
And if there's anything else that comes up, or any more recordings or anything, then then that's great. All right.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks, Peter. It's been really nice to connect with you again, and thanks very much for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
All right, thank you. That's great. All right.
All the best to you and the family, and hope we'll cross paths again soon. All being well.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you for joining us. If you're a folk band or folk artist and you don't mind what you see and you'd like an interview, then please get in touch with us, see what we can do. We're also looking at possible interviews in the horror sector too. Our contact details are below. We're on social media as well, so that's Facebook, Instagram, and now Blue Sky, which is very exciting, under Folk and Horror Phenomena. So check us out. Any questions, just ask.